From down under to down south, I've noticed something funny. Boomers, no matter which side of the Pacific that they're on, have a secret language. Half the phrases that we used to hear sound like total nonsense to younger generations, from broken records to wig flipping. These sayings remind us of a world that really doesn't exist anymore. So today, we're going to step back to the days of Fonzie and Ted Bullpit and take a look at boomer-era phrases that make modern kids just stare at us in disbelief.
You better take cover. Oh.
So today, I've grabbed a bunch of classic boomer-era phrases. If I butcher the meaning, correct me. If a phrase brings back a memory, tell me the story in the comments. And if you reckon one of these deserves a comeback, right, bring it back next to it for me as well.
Whatever you do, don't touch that dial.
Now, if you grew up in the 60s or the 70s, you heard this constantly. It was the classic TV and radio line, don't touch that dial. In other words, do not change the channel. Stay right here. But back then, you had to watch shows at a specific time. If you missed it, that was it. There was no replay. There's no recording. No, I'll just catch it later. You literally planned your night around the TV guide. Kids today, they got streaming, on demand, 5 different devices, and attention span probably of about 3 seconds. In Australia and in the States, it was the same deal. Giant, chunky TVs, rabbit ear antennas, and that clunky channel dial that you had to physically twist. No remote, no voice control, just you and the dial.
Starting to sound like a broken record.
When someone kept repeating themselves or told the same story for the 10th time, you'd say you sound like a broken record. It comes from vinyl records. If the record got scratched, the needle would hit the same groove over and over again. And that little bit of the song would just loop forever, forever, forever. So instead of music, you got the same line again and again until someone finally got up and moved the needle. Now, for a lot of boomers, that was normal. You grew up with a vinyl record player, and that horrible screech was when the needle slipped.
Don't want to sound like a broken
Kids today,
record.
most of them have never even handled a record, let alone heard one skipping. There's Spotify, Apple Music, playlists, algorithms, no needle, no groove, no getting stuck.
The Kingswood? You're not taking the Kingswood?
Now, this one is peak Aussie Boomer culture. Not the Kingswood is a classic catchphrase from the 1980s Aussie TV show Kingswood Country. Now, if you were around back then, you didn't just know the line. You could probably hear Ted Bullpit yelling it in your head.
You're not taking the Kingswood?
The Kingswood itself was an icon of the Australian car industry. Back when Holden was king and we still made cars down under. Having a Kingswood in the driveway was about as Aussie as it got. It wasn't just a car. It was pride, status, and a magnet for Dad's blood pressure. In the show, Ted was obsessed with his precious Holden Kingswood. Anytime someone tried to borrow it, touch it, or even suggest using it, he'd snap.
The Kingswood? You're not taking the Kingswood? I just shampooed the battery.
Because, of course, that car was sacred. The family could suffer, but the Kingswood? No way. Untouchable. And if you really want to go full nostalgia, you pair it with another classic Ted line.
Money on the fridge, Wog, money on the fridge.
Put your money on the fridge. Those two phrases together are pure 1980s Aussie TV. Now, the humour in Kingswood Country was very much of its time. A lot of people today would look at it and say it's pretty racist and sexist. And I guess they'd be right. But the whole point of the show was to actually mock those old school attitudes that a lot of Aussies actually had back then.
Puff design shirts.
Ted wasn't the hero, he was the joke.
Real men
For boomers, not the Kingswood isn't just a funny line, it's a time capsule. It's Saturday nights in front of the telly, Aussie sitcoms, and a world where the family car was practically a family member. For younger Aussies, and especially Americans, well, most of them have never heard of a Kingswood Country, don't know what a Kingswood is, and have no idea why this old bloke was yelling about his car. If you want a quick US comparison, this was a bit like our Aussie version of the overprotective sitcom dad with his beloved car. Somewhere between Don't Scratch the Mustang and Nobody Touches My Truck.
Back in the saddle?
It means getting back into something after you've had a break or after things have gone wrong. You've taken a hit, you've had some time out, and now you're jumping back in. Originally, yes, it's literally about horses. If you got thrown off, the idea was don't stay on the ground feeling sorry for yourself. Get back in the saddle and keep riding. It's all about resilience. And for a lot of boomers, that attitude was normal. You stuffed up, you tried again. You fell down, you got back up. Life knocks you off the horse, get back in the saddle, mate.
All right.
Whether you were in the suburbs of
Back in the
Sydney
saddle.
or in small town America, everyone knew what back in the saddle meant. You didn't quit just because it hurt.
Living in sin.
It was what people said when an unmarried couple moved in together. You weren't just sharing a place, you were doing something naughty in the eyes of the neighbours, the church, and probably your nana as well. Back then, the script was pretty simple. Get married, then move in, then have kids, in that order. So if you shacked up before the wedding, it was a mini scandal. You'd get the whispers, the side eye, and the classic, don't tell grandma, she'll have a heart attack. Now for me, it's funny because I grew up with that old school Aussie attitude in the background. And now I live in the American South, where a lot of those views are still very much alive. Backfence gossip? Check. Strong church culture? Check. People still genuinely using living in sin without a hint of irony? Big check on that one too. But for a lot of younger people today, it's just called moving in. No scandal, no drama, just splitting the rent and seeing if you can actually stand each other before making that big commitment.
I think you flipped your wig.
So basically this one meant calm down, don't lose it. It comes from that era when wigs and big hair pieces were everywhere. The 60s and the 70s. Heaps of hairspray, lots of volume. So if you got too worked up, the joke was you get so dramatic, your wig would practically launch off your head. You'd hear it when someone was overacting.
The dynamic duo has flipped their wigs.
And here's the bit younger people miss. Most of them don't picture grandma's perfectly set wig. They're thinking of hair extensions or maybe a dodgy Amazon cosplay wig at best. That whole visual of the carefully styled, slightly obvious boomer era wig, it's gone. It's one of those phrases that's still funny, but the mental picture that made it really funny has disappeared with the times.
Put a sock in it.
Now, it was the classic boomer way of saying, be quiet, stop talking, and that's enough out of you. The image comes from the old days of gramophones. If the music was too loud, you could literally stuff a sock in the horn to muffle the sound. There was no volume slider, no remote, just shove some laundry in it. So it carried over to people. Kid won't stop whining.
Put a sock in it.
Bloke at the pub won't shut up.
Please, man, put a sock in it, huh?
Now, try that line on younger people and a few things happen.
Put a sock in it, preppy.
First, they're no doubt thinking, what's a gramophone? And second, they're used to much more direct language. They'll just say, shut up, or they'll mute you in the group chat. So when a boomer says, oi, put a sock in it, it sounds half like an insult, half like a vintage comedy line.
Make like a tree and leap.
I had never heard this saying until catching it on the Back to the Future movie with Biff. Although he did manage to screw it up.
So why don't you make like a tree and get out of here?
Make like a tree and leave is basically a dad joke way of saying, time to go, get out of here.
We gonna make like a tree and leave.
It's a little wordplay. Leave sounds like leaf, so the joke is that a tree would leaf. Boomers use it in a goofy, lighthearted way to tell someone to move along, especially in awkward moments. Now say it to a younger person now and half of them will just stare at you. The pun doesn't really land, and most of them only know it because of the movie.
Make like a tree and get out of here.
Not because anyone actually says it anymore.
Pardon my French.
Now, this one was a polite boomer way of saying, I'm about to swear, but I still want to sound respectable.
Yeah, pardon my French, babe.
And originally, it comes from a time when English speakers would drop actual French words into conversation and then excuse themselves to anyone who didn't understand.
Pardon my French, honey, but take a hike.
Over time, it flipped into a cheeky way to apologise for bad language instead. So a boomer might say, this weather is bloody awful, pardon my French. It's like putting a lace doily over your swear word. You still said it, you just dressed it up nicely on the way out.
Like, pardon my French, a
So today, we don't really bother with that middle step. Things are much more direct. If people are going to swear, you just swear. No fake apology, no pretend French lesson beforehand.
I wasn't there. Stop acting stupid.
And if you say pardon my French to a 20-year-old now, they're thinking, French? Where? That was just swearing, mate. Nothing French about it. And with the C word getting tossed around in Australia these days like chicken salt on $5 worth of chips.
You are the only type of people that can get away with saying so much.
100%. It's a beautiful word, and I don't even know why Americans actually get upset over it.
Maybe we do need a little pardon my French to dress it up again. What do you reckon? These phrases are like cultural fossils from a world of rotary phones, milk bars, Kingwoods and Saturday night drive-ins, and somehow we managed to squeeze in all of that into just a few words. Now, I really want to hear from you. What's the one boomer phrase that you remember hearing the most growing up? Drop it in the comments for me, especially if it's one your kids or grandkids looked at you sideways for. I have a huge list of these phrases, so keep an eye out for more of the same. Make sure you give this a like, hit subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss the next culture clash. Hooroo, mateys.